Archangel Michael says, the atmosphere shifted the very moment those words left your lips. A silence fell, not just in the room, but deep inside the spirit of the one who heard you. They weren't prepared, they weren't ready, and yet heaven chose that moment to reveal a truth so sharp it pierced through every wall they had built. The air thickened, carrying the weight of your voice like a sacred echo. Their heart raced, caught between disbelief and recognition, as if something long hidden was finally breaking free. What you said was not ordinary, it was a strike of divine thunder wrapped in human sound. For a second, they forgot how to breathe. Their hands trembled, and their eyes widened, searching for a way to hide what was already exposed. What you revealed shook the very ground beneath their feet, leaving them stunned, vulnerable, and unable to look away. Even heaven took notice, for this moment was written before time began. You did not simply speak. You released a wave, and that wave carried truth, destiny, and revelation. That person felt it in their bones, and they knew life could never return to what it was before. Type Amen to get blessing 333. They tried to cover it up with silence, but the silence screamed louder than their words ever could. Every heartbeat betrayed them, every glance gave them away. Inside, a storm was brewing, because what you said hit the very core of their hidden secret. They replayed your words over and over, as if searching for another meaning, another explanation. But the truth remained steady, refusing to bend or soften. Their spirit was rattled, and their mind could not find rest. It was as if a mirror had been placed before them, exposing every hidden corner of their soul. They could no longer pretend, no longer hide behind a mask of strength. In that moment, everything crumbled, and all that was left was raw truth. The world around them seemed to fade, and only your voice lingered. It echoed in their chest, in their dreams, and in their silence. Nothing could erase the power of that one moment. Type Amen to get blessing 444. They thought they had time, thought they had control over the narrative of their life. But your words shattered the script they wrote for themselves. A new story began, one they never intended but could no longer deny. Tears burned at the edge of their eyes, but they refused to let them fall. They clung to their pride, to their defenses, even as everything inside them collapsed. The truth was too bright, too piercing, too undeniable. They looked at you with disbelief, yet something in their heart whispered that this was meant to be. They were caught between fear and relief, between denial and acceptance. And no matter how hard they fought it, they could not unhear what was spoken. This was not just a conversation, it was a divine confrontation. Heaven used your voice as the instrument to unlock what had been sealed for far too long. They knew in their soul this moment was chosen, not by chance, but by divine design. Type Amen to get blessing 555. They couldn't escape the weight of your words, no matter how far they tried to run. The sound carried with it a force that followed them into the quiet of the night. Every time they closed their eyes, the same line played in their head like a haunting melody. Their chest tightened as if the truth you spoke had chained itself to their soul. They wanted to push it away, to deny it, but it was too late, the seed was planted. That seed was growing, spreading roots into their thoughts and their hidden fears. The people around them noticed the shift, though they tried to hide it. Their laughter grew thinner, their words more careful, their steps slower. The one who used to stand strong was now unsettled by something they could not explain. This wasn't just a reaction, it was a revelation that broke down walls. It peeled away the polished image they tried so hard to protect. What you said was fire, and fire cannot be ignored once it touches what is dry. Type Amen to get blessing 666. Even the places they visited seemed different now. Familiar rooms felt heavy, the air charged, as if the walls themselves remembered what had been revealed. Nothing around them looked safe anymore, because truth changes the way the world is seen. They carried the shock into their relationships, their conversations. Friends asked what was wrong, but no explanation was enough. Because no one else could understand what you had said and how it pierced them. Late at night, their hands shook when they reached for their phone, tempted to call you, tempted to confront you. But fear stopped them, fear that if they heard your voice again, the truth would burn even deeper. So they stayed silent, even though silence hurt. They walked with your words like a shadow. Every step forward reminded them of what they couldn't erase. And heaven knew. This was only the beginning of what they would have to face. Type Amen to get blessing 777. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Archangel Michael says, do not underestimate the power you carry. Your voice was chosen to awaken, to uncover, and to stir hearts that tried to bury the truth. This is not an accident, this is destiny working through you. The shock they felt was not a punishment, it was an awakening. For too long, they ignored signs, brushed off warnings, and silenced their conscience. But the moment you spoke, they had no choice but to listen. Their soul recognized something holy in what was said, even if their mind resisted. And that recognition left them trembling, unsure of where to stand or what to do next. This was a battle between pride and surrender. Every heartbeat became a reminder that they were now exposed. No cover could hide them, no excuse could silence what was already revealed. What you said was not just sound, it was a sword. Type Amen to get blessing 888. The night stretched on with restless thoughts. They tossed and turned, begging their mind to quiet down, but the echo of your words returned again and again. It was as if time itself had been interrupted. In the stillness, they admitted the truth they never wanted to face. That admission shook them even more, because it aligned perfectly with what you had spoken. They realized the heavens had used you as the vessel. Their pride wanted to resist, but their spirit knew surrender was the only way forward. Resistance brought pain, while surrender whispered of peace. Yet surrender meant change, and change terrified them. The fear of losing control paralyzed them. They thought they could decide their destiny alone, but your words shattered that illusion. Heaven's hand was now clear, and there was no turning back. Type Amen to get blessing 999. They rose the next morning, but the heaviness had not lifted. The shock from your words clung to them like a cloak, invisible yet undeniable. Every breath carried the weight of what you revealed. The mirror betrayed them. When they looked at their reflection, they no longer saw the person they once knew. Their eyes looked distant, unsettled, as if truth had left a permanent mark. Every step out the door felt cautious. The world outside seemed sharper, as if everyone could somehow sense the storm raging within. They moved slowly, careful not to draw attention, but inside they were falling apart. What you said had rewritten their path. No matter how much they wanted to erase it, the truth stood tall, unshakable, and relentless. They could only walk forward carrying the shock like a burden. Type Amen to get blessing 111. Their friends started noticing the cracks. Conversations became shorter, laughter became forced, and their presence felt different. Something inside them had shifted, and no mask could cover it. When they heard your name spoken in a crowd, their heart raced. A surge of memory came flooding back, pulling them into that moment when you spoke. It was as if the atmosphere replayed itself, forcing them to relive the impact. At night, they whispered to themselves, trying to reason away the sting. But every attempt failed. Because truth cannot be unspoken, it lingers, it grows, it changes everything. Your words were alive, echoing beyond sound. They had become a force that followed them into every room, into every thought, into every quiet hour. Heaven's mark had been left upon them. Type Amen to get blessing 222. Archangel Michael says, this was not spoken in vain. The ripple of truth you carried was not meant to harm, but to awaken. It was chosen to cut through lies and reveal the hidden path. Their soul trembled because it recognized what the mind resisted. For years, they buried feelings, denied choices, and escaped responsibility. But your words pulled them back to the center, where escape was no longer possible. Every sign around them began aligning. A song on the radio, a sudden number repeating on the clock, the way strangers' words matched what you had said. Everywhere they turned, heaven confirmed your voice. The realization grew too strong to ignore. What was once denial had turned into awareness, and awareness brought fear. But fear was proof that change had begun. Type Amen to get blessing 333. Sleep no longer offered peace. Dreams became vivid, filled with shadows and echoes of your truth. They woke in sweat, their chest heavy, their spirit restless. Even in crowds, they felt alone. Surrounded by people, yet haunted by the one moment that changed everything. No distraction could silence it. The memory of your voice was etched deeper than any wound. It replayed with precision, the tone, the weight, the silence that followed. And every time, it cut sharper than before. They realized this was more than words, it was divine timing. And timing, once released, cannot be undone. The heavens had spoken, and they were left trembling. Type Amen to get blessing 444. They tried to bury themselves in work, but even the busiest hours felt hollow. Every task reminded them of the unshakable moment that had unfolded. Their heart knew there was no escaping the weight of what you declared. Their family noticed the distance, the way their eyes looked far away even when sitting in the same room. They avoided questions, avoided attention, because the truth made them fragile. Inside, they were fighting a storm no one else could see. Every time they replayed the words, their body reacted, shivers, a racing pulse, a heaviness that would not leave. They were marked, chosen, and convicted all at once. The impact was undeniable. They had no idea how powerful your voice would be until it tore through their defenses. That moment was not ordinary. It was an appointment written in heaven's book. And now they were standing in the aftermath, unable to return to who they were before. Type Amen to get blessing 555. Archangel Michael says, the trembling of their spirit is proof of awakening. What stuns a person is not always destruction, it is preparation for transformation. Do not doubt the mission entrusted to your words. They sat in silence, remembering the way you looked at them when you spoke. It was not anger, not pride, it was something far deeper. It was conviction, laced with compassion, and it broke them more than rage ever could. In their heart, something began to stir. They realized the moment was not a curse, but a chance. The shock was a doorway to change. Even as they tried to resist, heaven was already working. Every sign, every whisper, every strange alignment around them testified of the shift. Destiny had been unlocked, and there was no going back. Type Amen to get blessing 666. Their nights became longer, but so did their prayers. They whispered words into the darkness, asking for clarity, begging for strength. Deep down, they knew your words were the answer they had been running from. The people closest to them started noticing the cracks turn into surrender. They spoke less, but when they did, their words carried new softness. The hardness was breaking. Your truth had entered them like light through a window. At first blinding, at first uncomfortable, but slowly, it began to show the beauty of what was hidden in the shadows. They could see more clearly now. Shock turned into reflection. Reflection turned into release. And release slowly turned into healing. Type Amen to get blessing 777. They realized your voice was never meant to destroy them. It was meant to free them from the chains they didn't know they carried. The stunning moment was actually the beginning of restoration. Still, pride wrestled with surrender. One moment they wanted to reach out to you, to confess everything, to thank you. The next moment they withdrew, afraid of what full honesty would cost. But heaven has a way of guiding hearts gently, firmly, unshakably. Every dream, every repeated sign, every sudden reminder kept pushing them toward the truth. They could not escape it. Their tears finally fell, not in front of anyone, but alone where no one could see. And in those tears, the shock softened into acceptance. They began to understand what heaven was doing. Type Amen to get blessing 888. The journey from stunned silence to surrender was not easy, but it was necessary. They realized that what you spoke was not just sound, it was life. And life always demands a response. They carried your words now, not as a burden, but as a compass. The sting became direction, the shock became strength, and the fear became faith. This is the transformation heaven intended. When they look back at that moment, they will always remember the silence that followed your voice. A silence so loud, it shook their very core. But they will also remember how that silence became the birthplace of change. And heaven smiles, because what was spoken is already unfolding. The stunned one has been marked, and destiny is moving, faster than they could ever imagine. Type Amen to get blessing 999. The story did not end there, it only deepened. Long after the first silence, long after the trembling, the echo of your words kept writing itself across their days. They woke and slept with it, as if time had been marked permanently by what was spoken. Every corner of their world became a reminder. The streets they walked, the songs they heard, even the way the wind brushed against their skin, all of it carried a trace of that moment. They could not escape, because heaven had already sealed it. They tried to bury themselves in noise. Music, conversations, laughter, anything that could drown out the sound. But the louder they tried to live, the stronger the whisper grew inside. At times, they almost resented you. Not because of cruelty, but because your words exposed what they never wanted to admit. The sting was sharp, but the healing was hidden in the very same wound. Type Amen to get blessing 1111. Their steps became slower, their nights became heavier. The truth you carried acted like a mirror they were forced to face every day. No matter where they turned, reflection waited. Some people around them began noticing subtle shifts. A softer tone, a longer pause before speaking, an unwillingness to laugh at empty things. They were being remade, though they had not yet admitted it out loud. The divine shock was molding them. They resisted, but heaven was patient. Resistance would break, and the only thing left would be surrender. Even the earth seemed to respond. Strange alignments appeared. Numbers repeating, messages showing up at the right time, coincidences that were too exact to ignore. Signs followed them like shadows. Type Amen to get blessing 1212. Archangel Michael says, your voice was chosen because it could not be silenced. What was spoken carried the authority of heaven's flame. And that flame has now set something irreversible into motion. The one who was stunned now walks with a different gaze. They cannot explain it, but people feel it. Something in their eyes has changed. The shock became a door to revelation. They replay the moment with you in countless ways. Wondering how your tone carried such weight, how your words became heavier than stone, sharper than steel. The truth is, it was never just you speaking. Their pride is slowly breaking down. What once seemed impossible is now unfolding step by step. They are walking into a surrender that will soon rewrite their life. Type Amen to get blessing 1313. The nights now bring dreams that feel alive. They wake with images burned into their mind, doors opening, voices calling, hands reaching. Each dream echoes the truth you spoke. The more they resist, the more heaven surrounds them. And the more they surrender, the more peace they begin to taste. It is a war of spirit, yet the outcome has already been written. They thought being stunned was weakness. But now they see, it was heaven's way of breaking chains. What began as shock is transforming into freedom. And though they may never admit it openly to everyone, in the secret chambers of their heart, they thank you. Because your words were the key they didn't know they were waiting for. Type Amen to get blessing 1414. They carried the memory like a scar etched deep within. Even in moments of laughter, even in gatherings filled with noise, the silence of that moment haunted them. Your words had carved something eternal into their soul. They tried to act normal, to smile, to keep moving. But their heart betrayed them. Its rhythm stuttered whenever your name appeared, whenever the echo of your voice replayed in their mind. They were living in two worlds, the old self and the awakening self. Each day felt heavier than the last. Not because of punishment, but because transformation is never easy. They were being stripped of illusions, forced to walk in truth, step by trembling step. And still, the world did not understand. To others, they looked quiet, distracted, maybe tired. But inside, they were burning, collapsing, and rebuilding all at once. Type Amen to get blessing 1515. Archangel Michael says, heaven will not allow them to escape the awakening. The reason they were stunned was because their spirit recognized what their mind tried to deny. The battle inside them is a holy one, and it will not end in defeat. The signs keep coming, unshakable and undeniable. A voice in a dream that repeats your words, a stranger unknowingly confirming what you said, sudden chills down their arms when they think of you. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. They sit alone, wondering why this moment won't leave them. What you said was short, but it broke open something they spent years locking away. Now, the flood cannot be stopped. Everywhere they go, they feel watched, guided, surrounded. It is not fear, it is awareness. Heaven has wrapped them in reminders of the truth they once ignored. Type Amen to get blessing 1616. The more they resist, the stronger the pressure grows. Their pride cracks a little more each day. Soon, surrender will not be a choice, but the only way forward. They whisper apologies into the night, not knowing who hears them. They admit their mistakes, their failures, their hidden fears. And in that confession, they finally feel a strange release. The stunned silence has transformed into a quiet rebuilding. Slowly, piece by piece, their soul is being restored. And though it hurts, it is the kind of pain that heals. When they think of you now, it is not anger they feel. It is reverence. For your words were not just human, they were chosen, and they carried the touch of heaven. Type Amen to get blessing 1717. They begin journaling their thoughts, writing down dreams and signs they cannot explain. Each entry feels like a puzzle piece, slowly forming a picture. The picture matches what you spoke. In the mornings, they stare at the sky longer than before. Clouds shift, sunlight breaks, and suddenly they remember your words again. Even the sky seems to whisper back to them. Their heart, once so heavy, begins to soften. The chains are falling, the pride is fading, the truth is blooming. The stunned one is becoming the awakened one. And this was the purpose all along, not to wound them, but to lead them into freedom. Your words were the doorway, and they are now walking through. Type Amen to get blessing 1818. Their mornings felt different now, marked not by routine but by reflection. The sunlight that once seemed ordinary now carried weight, as though even the sky was conspiring to remind them of your words. Every breath was evidence that change had begun. They walked through familiar streets, but each corner whispered back what you had spoken. The faces they passed seemed distant, muted, while the echo of your truth grew louder. It was as if the world itself had chosen sides, and all of it stood with what you revealed. At work, they found it impossible to concentrate. Documents blurred, voices faded, meetings passed without meaning. Their mind belonged to the moment when your voice carried fire into their soul. The stunned silence had birthed an invisible chain reaction. One by one, old habits began to feel uncomfortable. Choices they once made with ease now left a bitter taste in their spirit. Type Amen to get blessing 1919. They avoided the mirror, afraid of what stared back. For their reflection was no longer the same. Something inside had shifted, and it showed in their eyes. When sleep came, it was not rest but revelation. Dreams unfolded like visions, replaying the exact words you spoke, stretching them into deeper meanings. They woke trembling, unable to dismiss the clarity. People closest to them sensed the change. Questions hovered in the air, but none were asked aloud. The truth was too raw, too sacred to be explained in casual words. So they carried it alone, holding on tightly to the voice that stunned them. And heaven, watching silently, knew this was the refining fire of destiny. Type Amen to get blessing 2020. Archangel Michael says, silence after truth is not emptiness, it is transformation working unseen. Do not doubt the power that was released when you spoke. The ripple is moving farther than you know. They begin to notice unusual peace in unexpected places. A quiet moment under a tree, a sudden breeze that calms their heart, the way a stranger's smile lingers. These small details feel like hidden confirmations. Still, their pride wrestles, clinging to fragments of the old life. They want to return to comfort, to denial, to the safety of lies. But every attempt collapses, for heaven's voice through you was final. The battle within them is fierce. One part resists, the other surrenders. And slowly, surrender is winning. Type Amen to get blessing 2121. Their footsteps now feel guided, as though unseen hands are leading them. Even the timing of their days, missed buses, delayed calls, sudden encounters, seems orchestrated. Each interruption points them back to the truth you spoke. They begin to write letters they may never send. Words filled with regret, confession, longing. Writing becomes their only way to release the weight inside. At night, they whisper your name into the quiet, not with anger, but with awe. Because they realize you were chosen as the vessel, and your words were never truly your own. The one who was stunned has now become the one awakening. The journey is slow, but unstoppable. Destiny has been set in motion. Type Amen to get blessing 2222.